Here. We're recording over onto Zoom now. So welcome. We are here with Jonathan England, who is one of the creators of the Visionary program and Awakened Life Live, which is a 2-day event that's happening this weekend. Normally it's a $2,000 investment to go to the program and to be able to connect with people that we have an opportunity now to connect with in a Zoom chat with breakout rooms. And Jonathan, what makes it so important now as much as ever for these events to happen, and specifically this one?
Yeah, well, so we were talking about before that there's a consciousness that's kind of splitting right now. There's been a gray area where you could be awake and aware and connected, or you could go back to sleep. So awake or asleep, you could bounce back and forth between the two. But what's happening is there's like a split happening where there's no more gray area. It's time to decide, make the decision, and decide means to cut off from all other options. So you're making the decision to either wake up or go to sleep, and there's not like the two. You're not getting torn between two worlds anymore. You're going to be choosing the world that you're going to go through. Now people wake up. I usually say we fall into heaven through the floor of hell. Usually the way that people wake up is going through just, I guess, like a traumatic experience. It's like their whole world just kind of gets wiped out from underneath them. So that's kind of, so we're all going to the same place because we're all already there. It's kind of like in the metaphor of the movie of The Wizard of Oz, when Dorothy at the end, she wakes up realizing that she'd been home the whole time. So we've been home the whole time. We've been in peace, love, and joy. We've been in heaven the whole time. We just have forgotten, and we fall into this illusion of separation. So what we're experiencing in the world right now is the awakening. But again, so like how I woke up was my whole world just got wiped out from underneath me. And that pretty much anybody that I know that is really has cleaned out from the inside, they did have to face, or they had the opportunity to face all their fears on the outside. So you either face it within or you face it without. If you're not conscious, if you don't know how to face it within, then the only opportunity is to face it without. So that's what the collective is about to experience. We're starting to experience it right now, but this is just kind of like the tremors of what we're experiencing, with all the things that are going on. But so all suffering is actually needless. We don't need to suffer but you only need it if you need it. And that just means if you haven't faced your fears within, then you got to face them without, because all the fears are coming to the surface, because the fears are an illusion. So false evidence appearing real. So all the illusions are coming to the surface now, so we can expose them, see them, and then just release our judgment upon them. And then they go away, because it's like a ghost. Well, it can only chase you if you're running away from it. If you'll turn around and run right towards the ghost, you run right through it and realize it was nothing. So that's the way our fears are as well. So the collective is about to experience all of its biggest fears because we've been unconscious to it. We've been just shoving it down. And we're starting to see in the world how all the things are coming to the surface, like the trafficking, of these little children, like 800,000 children, at least that's on record. That's recorded. Like that's what they're saying for certain. 800,000 children are going missing every single year just in America alone. So, but it's all coming to the surface now. And all that is just, it's time to face our fears, like the things that we've been just kind of ignoring. If you've ever noticed that sometimes if you try to ignore something, you're thinking that it's going to go away, it usually doesn't go away. What usually happens?
It grows.
It grows. It gets worse. So that's why it's important right now for people to get the tools to actually face it by choice rather than by chance, to face it within rather than without. So we don't have to experience the needless suffering. So anyway, the split's happening. How this happens, those two roads that we're going to go down, some people are going to wake up from the happy dream. If you decide to wake up by choice rather than by chance, you wake up from a happy dream. You wake up in a peace, love, and joy, and we remember love. Remember that we're all one. Everything is perfect, always has been, always will be. Love is the only thing that's real. Nothing you can do to destroy love, because it's the only thing that exists. You can't get it. You can't get rid of it. But on the other path, they're going the same place, because again, we're already there. We're just going to the place that we already are, but they're going to wake up too. But it's going to be waking up from a nightmare. It's like going into the darkness, going further asleep, further disconnected, further into the illusion of separation. And I don't know about you, but I'd much rather wake up from a happy dream than from a nightmare. So that's why this Awaken Life Live event is so important. So it's giving people the tools and resources to love themselves and have a community to where, because as you notice, as you start waking up right now, you're the oddball, you're the weirdo. If you aren't just, when we were in school, we were taught that the answers are more important than the questions. So we just repeat back the answers. So that's what's still happening right now. So you're an oddball if you actually start asking questions. But, at some point you're going to be strange if you're not asking questions. You're going to be strange if you're not awake. You're going to be strange if you're not being authentic and vulnerable and real. So anyway, it's that's just kind of where we're at, where we're going, and the purpose of Awaken Life is just to give you the tool. We do several segments, one on Awaken Health, one on Awaken Wealth, one on Awaken Happiness, one on relationships, one on spiritual connection, one on leadership, and one on purpose. So those are the different segments that we dive into, just awakening all those aspects of life, so each individual can step into their divine life, their highest and best life that they were always designed for, created for, and meant to experience, but we just kind of fell asleep.
And how come it's so easy for us to fall asleep in a world where we're so full of potential that we're ignorant of it?
Yeah, and well, that's kind of like how we showed up here. It was we needed to experience the illusion of separation, so we could. So the opposite of truth is not a lie, because the truth doesn't have an opposite. And at the same time, by experiencing the lie, experiencing the opposite, it actually gives us the ability to distinguish and understand truth. Because if you're just living inside of truth, like the fish in the water, you're just living inside of truth all the time. You're like, living inside of water. What's water? You don't know what it is. So we created the illusion of separation, and the illusion of like separation from love, the illusion of all these fears and everything, so that we could actually experience what we actually really have and what we really are. So in this illusion of separation, it's set up as there's an indoctrination system. It's all created like from birth, like all the systems, the religious systems, the government systems, the monetary systems, all the systems were specifically created or designed because we were created to create. We were created to create in the likeness and image of God. But we were conditioned to consume. So in this illusion of separation, it's like we've made all these false idols, and people are running around because what it is all we did is we took on judgment. Now, judgment is an illusion, but we took on judgment. And when we did that, we said, well, I'm not worthy of love. I'm not enough. So each person that feels like they're not enough, because again, that's an illusion, but they're trying to get to be enough. So you got like all these leaders that are like, all they're doing is trying to prove their worth. They're trying to feel like, okay, what do I got to do to be enough? If I got enough money, then will I be enough? If I get enough power, then will I be enough? And they're trying to get more and more and more. And so in that infrastructure that's been created, it's also the the systems of indoctrination, so that we're born into, to train us to consume, so that they would be our gods, basically our false idols. So we're giving all our power away when we've had it the whole time. It's like you can't actually really give it away, but we fall under the illusion that we don't have any power. And we're like, and then some people start waking up, oh, I got to take my power back. And at least they're trying to take their power back. At least they're doing something, yet it's still an illusion. It's reinforcing the lack of power because you've had it the whole time. And there's a phrase that I say at this event coming up this weekend is, we leave what is real in the pursuit of what appears to be. Yeah. We leave what is real in the pursuit of what appears to be. Faith without works is dead, and fear without works is dead. So once you have the fear and you take the action from it, you just reinforce the reality that came from the illusion of fear. So even fighting for your power is still reinforcing that you don't have it, like, as opposed to just stepping into it. Do things from the victory, not for the victory. From your worthiness, not for your worthiness. Completely different reality.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Because words are wands, and how we cast our words depends on where we come from, who we believe ourselves to be, and then who we believe ourselves worthy of becoming too, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, because willpower will never overpower your subconscious beliefs about yourself. Whatever you your identity is that you've created in this illusion, your willpower is not going to overpower the identity. So if you think that you're, a sick person, if if you think you're a fat person, if that's your identity, I'm a fat person and I'm going to go to the gym and I'm going to try to get skinny. So you're going to be working your butt off to try to get skinny, but it's like if you just relax for a moment, then you'll go right back because you still have the identity of a fat person, right? And not any judgment or anything. That's just like the identity that you might have created for yourself. So whatever that identity is that you've created for yourself, that's like your set point. And you might get into willpower and try to battle against that. And you can you can manipulate your world for a little while to create a different experience for yourself. But as soon as you get a little bit tired of that willpower and trying to force the world to fit into your mold, then you'll go right back to your set point until you just realize that whole thing was an illusion. And you can just step into health, you can step into wealth, you can step into happiness, you can step into deep, meaningful relationships, you can step into spiritual connection by just remembering that that's who you are. You are that abundant, you have an abundance of all of that. And we just fell asleep.
Yeah, and we were born and having drank from the river of forgetfulness. Carolyn Mace had shared in one of the seminars I went to of hers, where it's like before we come here, we drink from that river to forget in order to make sure that we don't sabotage ourselves. Because if we actually knew, then we would try to do things our way instead of them unfold according to God or the divine's plan.
Yeah. So and another thing that I like so I've got a book, it's called If I Die Before I Wake. And all the stuff that I talk about, the event is kind of based around that book because I teach on these 5 levels of consciousness, really 5 states of conscious orientation. But I talk about, what were you just saying? I was going to go somewhere and I forgot where it was. What did you just say?
Drinking from the river of forgetfulness.
The forgetfulness. Oh yeah. So at the beginning of my book, I start, talking about this question of so in this dimension, this physical dimension, there's a thing called lag time where you don't just immediately manifest your thoughts. Like it doesn't happen instantly. Like you have a thought and then you have to work and do things. And so the thought is the seed. You got to sow the seed. You got to water the seed. You water it with your emotion. So the thoughts lead to the emotion, the energy and emotion. So you sow the seed and then you water it with emotion and you take the actions and then you produce the harvest. So you produce the result, and that's the way it happens. Your mind is your garden, you're producing your fruit. So there's that lag time, because thank God there's a lag time, because right now most people's every thought that they have, you don't want that to manifest immediately, because you wouldn't be looking good right now. It wouldn't be too good for most people if the moment they had the thought, bam, it's immediate manifestation. So we've fallen asleep to the fact that the truth that of who we are. And it's like we're waking up to it, and it's waking up gradually. So, and it's just like a flower unfolding. And so, thankfully we've forgotten what our true power is. But it's just like that Marianne Williamson quote, that our deepest fear is not that we're inadequate. Our deepest fear that we're powerful beyond measure. And when you really get that quote, when you understand it, you embody it, and you really start to dip your toe in that water, it's terrifying. Wow, really it's terrifying to understand who you are and why you are. But here's why it's terrifying. It's because actually to become who you really are, to remember who you are, you give up all control.
Yeah.
So the only thing we have control over is our smallness, is our fears, is our illusion. We don't have control over the truth. We don't have control over love. So you give it up, and it's terrifying to actually let go of the wheel and allow ourselves to be who we always were. And it's just a cool journey. It's like you go to a movie, you might go to a horror movie, but then you come out on the other side. No, it's terrifying when you're in the middle of the movie, and then you come out and it was just an experience. So all this, it's just an experience. I think it was Jim Rohn that said, if you take life too seriously, you'll never get out alive. So it's really just, just removing our judgments, because the whole thing is it's literally one thing: releasing our judgments. What do you mean judgments? Judgments on what? Everything, everyone, everything, on ourselves, on every circumstance. So the moment that you start, you put yourself on the throne, say, okay, I'm going to judge this is good and this is bad. They're good and they're bad, which once you're starting to do that, you're trapped inside of your mind and you're judging everything. And that's what's manifesting an illusion. So, because the only thing that exists is love. We all hear that. And most people are like, yeah, that's true. But we don't truly like really believe it like fully in our being, because we're still judging things. If you knew that the only thing that exists was love, the only thing that real is love, that means everything else is illusion. So if we're calling something bad, then we're sucked right into the illusion, and then we go and create from that space of fear. We manifest from that space, and then because what's actually happening is your experience, we're manifesting our reality. Manifest doesn't mean to create, it means to make obvious what is already there. So you're starting to tune into a reality, and so you created that experience. Now no matter what experience that you're inside of at this moment in your life, whatever it is, you created that experience by tuning yourself into it. But if you start to judge your experience as bad, then you judge yourself, and you reject your experience, then you reject yourself. And so you can't remember who you are. You can't step into that you're a powerful creator, that you are love, if you're rejecting your creation, because you're rejecting yourself. You can't love yourself if you've rejected the experience that you've created for yourself. So it's all just one thing: releasing the judgment, just forgiveness. And even forgiveness is illusion, because we don't even need forgiveness. There's nothing to forgive, because the only thing that exists is love, and forgiveness is the only way out of the illusion. So just releasing all the judgment. That's it. That's your one thing. You got one thing to do to wake up from the happy dream. Release your judgments.
So when to release judgments, obviously we're not taught that
Oh yeah,
specifically. Culturally, we're taught to judge, and we're taught to discern, and we're not taught to discern either.
yeah. No, not discern. You don't even get that word. They won't even let you know that word. And I'm saying they, and there are no others. But yes, we created an experience where we don't even know what discern means. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Discernment is about differentiating what feels true from what seems to be true, maybe. And it's like, I have recently had a conversation with somebody from a scientific background that says it has to be peer reviewed, and you have to show me all these things that you're telling me are going to happen, and then you have to let me know how it looks. And even the way that I'm saying it is judgy, because there's still an element of me that's very triggered by the fact that when you're looking outside of the box, when you're discerning the information and you're saying, what I'm being fed by those 6 conglomerates that own all of the media channels and outlets throughout the world, when that doesn't jive, or that doesn't feel like it's actually true, or like it's anything benefiting me or the ones that are in this society that are being affected as the pawns of the game, so to
Yeah,
speak, it's like, I'm not going to be able to find peer reviewed articles, and
exactly.
anything that is truth seems to be fact checked and said that it's not, because of the censorship that's taking place. And so from that perspective, how do you hold strong truly when you are a warrior, when you are, wild and fierce and not afraid of actually standing for an alternative truth, which I'm speaking for myself, but I
Yeah.
know that I'm not alone. And it's just like, I'm doing my best to stand true and firm in myself, and just really learning what feels true for me, and then going on that flow. But then really wanting to be able to say to the ones that are so ingrained in the way of the world as is, that they need me to tell them how to find security in a way that they can, that doesn't exist yet.
Yeah. So we just get to a point where, because we're lighthouses. Once you find the light, well, but what we happen at first when we find the light, and we're like, oh wait, it's like everywhere I look, there's light. Oh, because it's coming through me. Well, at first we start out as a flashlight, and we're like trying to shine the light on everybody else. But then as you start to really like, oh wait, that's not actually even helping anybody. I'm actually a lighthouse, and lighthouses don't chase boats around. We just stand there and just shine the light for whenever somebody's ready, and they start looking, because that's how we made it. Somebody was a lighthouse, and we started looking around. Wait, what is that over there? That looks like some light over there, and we started heading in that direction. But they didn't come chase us. Like, we started heading that way. So that's what we become that for other people. But I remember whenever I was an evangelist atheist for like 20 years. Like what I mean by evangelist atheist is like it was my job to convince people God wasn't real for like 20 years. And I remember people would like use the Bible to like try to prove to me God's real. I'm like, you're using the Bible, like you're using it like you're using the thing to try to tell me that the thing, like it's like, how do I know that that's real? Like it's like, it didn't make any sense to me. And I'm like, that's not logical in any way, shape, or form for you to use the thing that says, hey, you got to listen to this thing or else. And I'm like, it was ridiculous to me. So but what was wild is when I finally, woke up and I like, I couldn't have found it through the words. I had to find it through experience. And then, God was revealed to me, and then it was wild because now I go back to the Bible. I'm like, holy crap, like it was there the whole time. But, the thing is, so in heaven, the only currency in heaven is faith. Faith is the only currency of heaven. So here's the thing. The biggest myth is I will believe it when I see it. The truth is I will see it when I believe it. So it's just an experience that people are going through. So as long as there's enough, lights, whenever you're ready to find the light, you're going to find it. And it doesn't matter whether it comes, where it comes through. It doesn't come from people, it comes through people. So sometimes Laura is going to be the lights that's coming through, and somebody starts looking like, there, Laura, and they start listening, and and sometimes it'll be me. But every word that I say, there's light coming through me. My intention is just to be pure conduit, like I decrease so love can increase. It's like I just stay out of the way. Like Laura was asking me earlier, hey, what do you want? What do you think's like we should talk about? And like, I don't know. My job is to stay out of the way, because whatever the collective needs is like, I can't even predetermine it. It's like in each and every moment, it's just flowing through. So, and see, I even just lost where I was going right there. Even talking about that. You remember what I was where I was going?
Well, you had mentioned about asking about where to go and
Oh yeah.
minimizing yourself in order to be the conduit to let
Yeah. So, but even like, so there's words that'll be coming through me, and the words are just the package for the light or whatever. So, some of the words they just come in as little seeds, and and they'll grow, they'll germinate, they'll grow, because it's just like these thoughts, the paradigm that you're stepping into, but you're constructing your own paradigm. So each person, as anybody who's listening to this right now, I'm just your reflection. I'm just speaking the words of your higher self or your lower self. Maybe you're at some dimension that's like way beyond somewhere else in pure absolute like love and like a whole other dimension. And maybe it's like your lower self, and you listen to me, then you're going back down. I don't know, but just know that like these words, like we've all asked for. So there's a Bible verse is ask and you shall receive. And there's another one that says, if you ask for an egg, God won't give you a scorpion. So when it shows up, it's like, this is the answer to your prayers. So just start looking and start experiencing life like that. Like, because this is how it really began for me, is I became curious. I started just being curious. I'm like, why did that happen? Oh, what's going on there? And as you start to ask that question, why that happened, and you really intend for the answer, like you really can start to see it, and you can start to understand how it's connecting, and how it is that when you change the way you look at things, the Wayne Dyer quote, when you change the way you look at things, what happens? The things you look at change. And so he's been saying that. Now, he didn't have that proven, and when it first came through him, that was just light coming through him and packaged in words. But now you got quantum physics saying, yeah, look at that. Like, they're not going, look at Wayne Dyer was right, but they're just saying, like, look what we just discovered, that the actions of the observed are determined by the observer. Like, it's just a paradigm, and we're just stepping into it. I always say, don't believe it just because I say it. Like, so my litmus test, because if my thoughts are producing my fruits, then my litmus test is I want to plant seeds that produce peace, love, and joy, because that's my intention. My favorite fruit to taste is peace, love, and joy. So those are the fruit. That's the harvest that I want to be producing it all the time, so I can just keep eating peace, love, and joy. That's my fruit. So I always just I take on beliefs, and I'll try them on. I taste it out and like say, is that peace, love, and joy? Is that what that? Nope, it's not. So I just throw it out. I don't judge it. if there's another fruit that's being produced, I don't judge that fruit just because I don't like whatever. I don't like papaya, and that's, I want to like papaya, but I don't. But so I don't judge the papaya. It's just like, throw it out. I really love pineapple. So that's the fruit that I want to taste. I don't judge the papaya. I just like love the taste of pineapple. So the same thing when you're taking on these beliefs, say, let me taste that fruit. Let me look, and you'll know them by their fruits, right? So as you start to watch people, just like, hey, are they got the fruits that I want to experience? And if they got the fruits that you want to experience, then cool. How they're producing those fruits it's every thought is a prayer. It's a seed, and it's every thought. So what are their habitual thoughts? What are the belief systems, the paradigms that they're coming from? So and then you can just kind of start taking those on. And as you take those on, then you'll start producing the same harvest. So if you want peace, love, and joy, then find people who are living inside of peace, love, and joy. Not trying to, because if you're trying to get there, you're still reinforcing that you don't have it. So it's actually stepping into that reality. My wife, there's a time where she didn't know how to love herself. I mean, most people don't. Most people have no idea what love is. But so she had to start asking herself, what would someone who loves themselves do? Because she didn't know. Like, she wasn't someone who loved herself, and we do the wrong thing so long that the right thing feels wrong. So the things that felt right for her was the exact opposite of loving herself. So she had to start asking the question. So the questions are the answer. She starts asking the question, what would someone who loves themselves do? And then as she started asking that question, asking you shall receive, she'd get the answer. And then she would just do what someone who loved themselves would do. And then now she's coming from that place rather than for the place. So it's just, stepping and just gathering up. And it's all, again, it's just, you're hearing Laura speak. That's you speaking. You're asking, and it's your paradigm. You're tuning into all of us. We're all one. It's just your mirror. So it's just, you just watch your mirror, see where you're attracted to, see where you're repelled to. And like, if you're repelled to a part of a mirror, just look at it, make sure you release your judgment on it. Because if you got a judgment on it, if there's a part of your mirror that you hate, that you got a judgment on, well, that's part of you too. So release it might not be something that you're like heading towards, but if you're running away from it, then you'll get wherever you go, there you are. And so your mirror is going to pop right back up there again. So it'll be done with you when you're done with it. You got to release your resistance to it. So if you got a judgment on any part of your mirror and you try to run away from it, love it first. Love it. And then once you love it, like there's a Matt Kahn book, Whatever Arises, love that. It's really great. So when it shows up, love it. And then once you've loved it, it'll just leave your reality on its own if it doesn't exist in love. If it only exists in the illusion, in fear, once you've loved it, like, it can't exist anymore because it doesn't exist in love. It only exists in fear. So and that could be even your relationships. You might have a relationship in your life. They're like, what do I do it? Well, when you move into unconditional love, like, so there's people that they can't experience love, like because they're not tuned to it. They're like, so if you're in their reality and you are like living in unconditional love, and they show up and can't receive love, unconditional love, they'll have to leave your reality. They can't now. But here's the thing, watch it when you talk about unconditional love, because most people, when you, like, I remember for me, I thought unconditional love was just, being a rug, just getting the beat down, just like, I'm still gonna love you, just beat me, whatever you want to do, I'm gonna love you. That's actually not love. Like, after I went down that path for a little while just to understand it, and it was great. I'm glad I went down that journey, because so nobody else ever has to. They probably still will, but now that I've done it, I'm like, cool. I can just tell you everything about that journey, what you're going to experience going down it, so you don't have to. Yeah. And I'm just letting you know, it doesn't work. I mean, you might need to go find it for yourself, but I just tell you it doesn't work, because here's what love, like, fear comforts dysfunction. So I was calling unconditional love comforting dysfunction, but that's fear. Love confronts dysfunction. Yeah. So compassion is like, hey, you call out the dysfunction, and they're going to get triggered if you call out, hey, you got some dysfunction going. I've got no judgment on you. I've had plenty of dysfunction going on in my life. No big deal. Like, and here it is. So do you want to keep it? Because I know you're experiencing hell right now. because of the dysfunction that I see going on inside of you, I know what the reality that you're experiencing. You'll know them by their fruit. I see your fruit. I know what's going on inside of you. I know what your reality is because I've been down that path. So I'm going to let you know that there's dysfunction in there so you can step out of that into a new reality. But most of the time, if they're not right, they'll just run away. Like, oh crap, you can see my lies and my illusions now. I got to get away from you so I can't otherwise, because they see behind my fig leaf. Like when you see behind somebody's fig leaf and they don't want you to see behind it yet, they're not ready to reveal what they've done, then they'll run away. So you got to be okay with that too, or you don't have to be okay with that. If you want to experience love and heaven, then you be okay with it. If you want more pain and suffering and and hell, then just keep chasing it around. I don't know. That was for somebody. I don't know who that was for, but somebody just got a lot out of that.
Good. Yeah. Well, we've got a couple people over on Facebook. And so
Cool.
I just wanted to bring you on because we've got on the weekend, you're running Awakened Life Live, and it's an opportunity for you to really go into your inner kingdom, to find those parts of yourself that you judged and said weren't good enough because somebody else threw their garbage into the kingdom of you, and you took it on and were like, oh, thank you for letting me know that that's an embarrassing part of me. And so you sheltered that for so long, and then it's like all of a sudden you come to understand it's actually beautiful when you uncover, when you let that judgment be balanced with mercy, and to know that the imperfection and the process never stops. It's like we never get there, and we always hear people say that, but somehow we seem to leave that room of understanding for everyone else other than ourselves when going through process. It's like everyone else, they're going through process. They'll get there, but we're going through it and it's the end of the world. But for our ego, it is the end of the world, because it's the end of the world as the ego knows it. And that's why the ego runs. That's why when we think somebody has seen us and we don't feel like we're ready for that, then we run away from that, because the ego knows they can't survive somebody seeing that they're not the wizard that is behind the curtain.
Yeah, because it is the ego is the wizard behind the curtain saying, hey, look, I got everything that you want. But once it gets exposed, the lie goes away. It doesn't exist because it can only exist in illusion. And so it has to fight for lies. So when the truth will set you free. So when the truth comes, like the ego is like I got to get you out of here, because if you get set free, then because it's the cage, right? The cage just it dissolves. All the bars just dissolve immediately. Like, oh, because what happens when you wake up? Literally every time, like we do it at Awaken Live all the time. There's a lady this last time. I mean, it was some deep stuff we went to. Laura, were you there at the? Oh my gosh, there's this lady at the end. It was like some of the deepest stuff. Like I was shocked even like that we went into where we went into. I mean, like she was a little. We went to where she was a little 11-year-old girl, and so I'm going to share some just deep stuff right here, and just watch yourself, watch what you feel inside of yourself, because that's where you got to look, because the emotion is coming up and it's just showing where your judgments are. So as I'm speaking, just watch what you're feeling inside. Don't run away from the feeling, run towards it. Most people run around with a pack and stack, just shoving it all down. So, but all we got to do is run towards it, release our judgment on it, because life is an 18-inch journey from the mind through the emotions to the heart. But we got to go through the emotions. So when it comes up, great. Now you get this. If it comes up and it's something other than love, then you go right through it. It's just like the ghost that you're running away from. If you'll turn away, run to it, the ghost you run right through the ghost. It dissolves. It was never anything. So, but yeah, she was an 11-year-old girl and she was raped. And not only was she raped, then the guy who raped her went and raped someone else and murdered this other lady. And then the guy came back and then took the little 11-year-old girl that had just gotten sexually abused and as an accomplice, and got her. She became his number one witness on why, like, so he would get away with it, because she was like, he was with me, but he wasn't. So now here she is, like at this point, when at this last Awakened Life, she was probably like, I don't know how old she is, 50s or 60s or something, but so she's been carrying all this, not only it was the loss of innocence, right? loss of innocence in multiple dimensions all at the same time. Because not only did she lose that, like what happened to her, but then she became an accomplice. So she's carrying around that like it was all her fault. Like it was, so from an 11-year-old girl carrying all this pain, all this guilt, and all this shame for her entire life, a whole life of carrying that around like it was her fault. Like it was her, like it was her fault this person got away with it. It's her fault this other person got killed. It was her fault. Like, and it all started by a little 11-year-old girl getting used and her innocence getting taken. Now, again, the story didn't begin there. It began with the guy who did it, like his innocence being stolen. But this thing just gets perpetuated. So anyway, we got to this moment where we did this deep breakthrough. And like I said, going into it, my eyes were just watering just talking about it. But when we were in it, it was like we did the breakthrough and released all the judgment, and poof, and she got set free. And so we do this after the event. We do on a Wednesday, like we call it a completion call. So we do Saturday and Sunday. It's all day, 12 hours a day, both days, and full immersion. And then we do like a completion call, because you'll go back out into the world and now you got all these new tools and you get to test them out and see what's going on. So then we come back together on Wednesday. So we came back together on Wednesday, and she showed up and she's telling the story. She's like, I can't even tell you, like my whole world is like changed. She's like, it's like all the weight's gone. I've never been able to sleep my whole life. I'm just sleeping like a baby. Like everything is different. And she's like, you don't understand. It's like I've been like asleep my whole life, and I just like, oh, well, all of a sudden wake up. It's like this veil got removed. I'm like, yeah, I do understand. Like, she's like, no, like it's like, and I've been there the whole time. I've been in love the whole time, but I've been living inside of this illusion. I've been in this story, and I'm carrying all this weight and like all this stuff that didn't even exist. And like, she's like, I'm free, and you just don't understand. I'm like, yeah, I do understand, but I mean, I don't know, like the depth of what you went through. No, I don't understand that. And so from that heaviness to that happiness that fast, and but so that's what it is. We experience this. That's really what we're doing at Awaken Life, is removing the judgment. It's moving, because we're born creators, conditioned to consume, living from the outside in. We just flip the switch back from the inside out, where you realize that, and you step back into creator, and you become the love that's the only thing that exists. You just remember that. You remember love. We're all one. We remember the love. Love is infinite connection. It's the remembering of the oneness. So you get remembered when you release because we fragment. As soon as we judge an aspect of our life, an aspect of ourself, some moment in time, we fragment and we disidentify, where they're like, uh-oh, and we hide. We put our fig leaf up, we hide that. Like we put that part of ourselves, like, never again am I going to feel that. So we put that part of ourselves in a little cage, in a little closet, something, and, never to get set free again until, we experience something like this. We go, maybe we get the tools to forgive, because again, we don't even need to forgive ourselves, because we're already forgiven, but it's just helping ourselves remember that. So, yeah, this event is like, it's just miracles. We produce miracles. It's what the world needs right now. I say, the darkness is showing up, but what it is the reason the darkness is showing up is because the lights are getting brighter. People are starting to shine bright. They're pure unconditional love. So we got there's unconditional fear going on in the world right now. Unconditional fear without any conditions. It's just terrified of, I don't even know what I'm terrified of. I'm an invisible villain, and it's coming after me. And is it you? Is it that person? Is it, who's it in? Where's it at? Is it on that table? Is it, it's everywhere. I'm fear unconditional. The only answer for unconditional fear is what? Unconditional love. So, but the unconditional love has been waking up on this planet. So the unconditional fear, it's like, that's what I'm saying. The polarization happened. But what's happening is that it's when the light gets brighter, the darkness gets darker. The shadows get darker. Because when you turn the light on, because there's like really no shadows when everybody's in the dark. But when the light turns on, now all of a sudden there's shadows. And that, if you get a really bright light, like, I got lights in here, and, it's just look right there, or right there. See that darkness right there? Because there's a bright light shining over here.
Yeah.
So it makes that darkness darker until the whole room turns to light. And that's what we're about to experience, is the whole room's about to turn to light. So people are waking up. It's a good sign when the darkness starts showing up. It's a really good sign, because that we're getting bright. So, go and just get excited. And we got the tools. Like, this is the perfect time. It's time to wake up. So we got, like, the Awaken Life Live. It's just going to give you the tools, the resources, and the community. You need to love yourself, love each other, and live the incredible, prosperous, fulfilling life that you were always created for. So you walk away. It's like, we're not the source of it. It's not like you're not going there to for us to do anything to you. It's like you're going in there and you're just finding all of it inside of yourself, all the power, all the love. You find it within yourself, and you walk away with your own tools. You can use them anytime. We got people who've come to Awaken Life Live. We got a lady, she came to Awaken Life Live. We showed her the tools. Here's what you do. Here's some ways to, there's like a science to it, an art to it, and you just go through it. And so she went and used the tools. There was a lady who had COVID, and she was tested with COVID, and like, all the symptoms like horrible. And then the lady who had come through Awaken Life and got the tools, she used the tools with this other lady, and did this breakthrough, or released the judgments inside of her. And then bam, within 24 hours later, COVID completely gone. She went back, got tested again. COVID was gone. It's like she got tested both times. We got the results from both the tests, 2 days later, completely gone with this work. So the reason I'm saying that, because it's not me. It's not like it's me. It's not like it's, we got other people that are presenting in there. It's not us that have your power. Yeah, you have it. It's just, you just didn't know how to access it. So we just give you the tools so you can access that. And you can take the tools, access it, and then you can give those tools to somebody else. It's like, we got a torch here. We just light your torch. Now there's 2 torches, and then you go light the torch, and then you go light the torch, and it just expands. So a miracle is a collapsing of time. So we're perfectly poised for a collective miracle for all of humanity. So it's a collapsing of time, stepping through the veil of time and into eternity. So heaven on earth is being born right now. This isn't the end. This is the beginning. This is the beginning of heaven on earth. So.
And Bruce Lipton talks about, in his book, The Honeymoon Effect, about noble gas partners being people who have done the inner work to become balanced, so that unlike a normal chemical compound that takes 2 unbalanced cells or chemicals and then makes them into a compound together, this is about really becoming a noble gas, where that cell is able to operate fully on its own in full harmony, and then can find and resonate with others who are in harmony too. So really finding that tribe of ones who allow us to come out of maybe what has seemed normal or what seems reality. And I did want to also point out too is, Jonathan, you've been on this path for a long time. So it's exciting to you to grow and change and go through all of that. And I have been too. So we're used to that because we've been stewing in the crock pot of growth for a long time. And so we've experienced the discomfort over time, but there are people that are being thrown into the frying pan right now that didn't want to have anything to do
at all.
And now they're being thrown into it. And so this is really an opportunity for us to go deeper into ourselves with tools, with support, and knowing that regardless of where we're at in the journey, someone else is further along. And they may be in the community, or maybe they're not in it yet. But the fact is that we have to come together. Now more than ever, we have a responsibility to ourselves and to humanity, for us all to really actually stand solidly as the lighthouse that doesn't have to chase. Because I'll admit, last October, the fight between the fearful and faithful got really real in my world. And it ended up getting so big. And I knew that I knew I was walking the line between genius and insanity. I knew that I was to that, and I'd seen under the veils, and I wasn't self-caring well enough. And I didn't get enough sleep. And then I started moving really fast. And Kirk, who also is, he runs the Visionary program and co-facilitates the Awakened Life Live weekends that happen every 2 weeks. And this weekend, so Saturday and Sunday, this coming one from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Central, 10 p.m. to 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is our chance to really come together. And what he was saying, I lost my train of thought there.
But I want to say something just to congratulate you and thank you for what you did there. Thank you for going through that, the the fight between the faithful and the fearful thing that you took it to the limits. So you went down the end of that road. So nobody else ever has to. Now people probably still will, but you did it for us, right? So you went through that darkness, you went through that dark time, and I mean, it was scary, it was crazy, right? It was,
Well, it was
um,
the insanity of it, in truth, was seeing how sick the system is.
yeah,
And there are really good people in the system in terms of the professionals that work within it. But then
yeah,
there is also the element of disenfranchising people, taking our power away, or getting us to give it away. Because the psychiatrist's first responsibility is to actually get the client to accept they have a problem,
yeah,
that the psychiatrist is the one that knows how to solution, when
yeah.
actually we have our own chemical pharmacy within us, that we don't need any physician outside of ourselves if we are willing to do the inner work to actually know how to access that healing capacity, which is what doing things like what this weekend can do for us in a supported, safe container. Because what I was going to say is about how when we start going so fast and when we start moving so quick, and we were talking about this, not mania or hysteria, which hysteria comes from hysterectomy of all what comes up for a woman when she goes through that transformation. You were going to say?
No, I was just saying, yeah. I was just agreeing with you. Yeah,
Oh,
keep going.
fair.
Great.
But so essentially, when I was going through that, I knew that I was unbalanced. I also felt like it needed to happen really fast, which is what happens when you kind of buy into your own BS way too hard, and then you feel like there's this urgency and immediacy that needs to happen, and it's like you're hitting against the wall, and you know that you are, as the fly that's hitting glass, and yet still I was doing it, and I even called myself on it, and I recorded it all live, which is the part
Right.
that really made the ones that love me so uncomfortable, because it's like, Laura, you just destroyed your reputation. What were you possibly thinking? Who's going to possibly come to you after that to be their life coach? And it's just like, well, the ones that are going through that, not publicly. Like,
Yeah.
it happens to a lot of people. But in like Stephen Porges, I mentioned it on the call the other day about his polyvagal theory and about understanding the nervous system's role in regulating ourselves. Because if we're in fight, flight, freeze, or fawn mode, we're in a completely reactive state, which means our creative center is completely offline.
Yeah. Yeah, but I want to go back to, you said you destroyed your reputation. Thank God, right? Like this, like that was my identity, you know. And if people are like looking at that, like they're missing the point, because it's like when I see Laura, I don't even see like an identity. I don't see a reputation. All I see is just the pure love, and like, cause I see her devotion, I see her commitment, I see her love, and that's all she is. And you know, it's a rare individual right now. It's a rare individual for somebody to be that committed to love or not. Like she's so willing to experience love or nothing, that she was willing to go that far with it. And so who's going to listen to you? The people that don't, that are going to, like, because you're going to have to go, we fall into heaven through the floor of hell, like. But if you've got a guide, if you've got somebody who's already been through that crap, that already took it that already went far and went in that darkness, like those are the people. Like I want to be somebody who's already been like through the darkness. Like they already cut the trail. Like if I'm going to get in a plane with somebody, like, and there's a storm coming, I want to be in a plane with somebody who's already been through the storm multiple times and they've gotten it figured out now. So, you know, again, that's why I was saying thank you, Laura, for like choosing love so much that you are willing to let go, like it. And, you know, it might not have looked right, like good on the surface or in that moment, yet it was all a perfect stepping stone. It was because, you know, you can't rush your healing. It was the flower unfolding. And all it was just the fears coming to the surface. It came to the surface. You release your judgment on it. You release your resistance to it. It goes away. And but we're all sitting there running around trying to get somewhere, and that's the issue. We leave what is real in the pursuit of what appears to be. Trying to get somewhere is what's creating the illusion that you're not there already.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've got a meeting coming up in 9 minutes. But
Yeah.
is there anything with our next, like, we got like 5 more minutes that.
Yeah. Well, if anyone has any questions or anything specifically that you have heard from today that makes you feel like you wanted to share something below, please in the comments do so. And Jonathan and I will certainly be
Yeah.
curious as to what comes from what came up for you with the conversation. And I absolutely love how you had said about pay attention to where you get triggered, where it comes up in your body, and to have prefaced the story that would trigger somebody with the lesson that they can get from being triggered, because a lot of people are not doing that. A lot of people are using shock value. They're using the shock and jar kind of method, which I've done for sure, and certainly we all do to an extent, but you really did it in a way that set it up. And that's really how the whole weekend structured, to not only give people the insights with the tools that they can use to go inside of themselves, but also to understand what's going on in terms of the process for people that might want to take other people there too and actually use those teachings. So for yourself, who has been on this journey for as long as what you have, to be able to host a 12-hour times 2-day event like this weekend with Awakened Life Live, that I'll post the link for in the comments below this video too, is just, so sign up for the weekend, and if you can come out for the whole thing, that's amazing. And if you can't, Jonathan, I think that's where I'd love to end this message, because some people are saying, like, there's no way I can devote 24 hours on my weekend to growing myself when there's everything else that I need to do. And so we get really excited about the opportunity to do those deep immersions because we understand the power of it. But for somebody that might not be so familiar with it to be comfortable yet, what would you say to anyone that is considering maybe showing up for either part of it, all of it, some of it? What would you say?
Well, I'm with you, because this used to be a 3-day live event in person, and then once the coronavirus thing hit and shut us all down, then we had committed to doing one. It was April 3rd, 4th, and 5th, and then we're like, well, what are we gonna do? We can't do it live. They shut us down. They said we couldn't do it live, so we're like, you think we could do it via Zoom? And we're like, no, there's no way, because it's so deep, it's so transformational, and like we thought there was no way possible. But we said, all right, like one of our people in our community was like, dude, come on, man, you're the faith guy, you're the one, like, you guys just keep going, you like let it grow, this is happening for a reason, it's a good thing. We're like, all right, so let's try it. So now when we said we're going to do it, this is how we said, we're like, let's just go. We'll go in for like the first segment, which is a 9 a.m. to noon. We'll do that first segment. That's, people show up, they're probably not going to sit there for 3 hours on Zoom. So we'll just do that segment. If there's still energy going, then we'll go ahead and go to the next segment. And if there's still energy going, then we'll go. And we wound up doing it was the whole 3 days, 12 hours a day, and on Zoom. And we were shocked. Like, we were like, there's no way this is really happening. And the people were staying till like 10 o'clock every night. Like, we were in it at 9 o'clock, but people were like still wanting more, like the 3 days. So I'm just give it a shot. Just be there at 9 a.m. And the thing is, it used to be like, this was a $2,000 event, but now that we're doing it Zoom, it doesn't cost us anything. Like, so it's like great. Like, cause I can just gift this thing, and we can, like, Laura's gifting this thing. Like, cause the thing is, it's like we're, it's a tool. It's just one of the greatest. I can't imagine a greater gift for humanity, for any of my loved ones. I just can't. So to be able to just gift this to the world is just the greatest thing. So just register. It's just awakenlifelive.com. You just go in there and just register and just show up at 9 a.m. and just and see what happens. There was somebody that came one time, and she was supposed to be going to work on Sunday, but after like the first day, like, she's sitting there at like, after we did the relationship segment at 6 p.m. to 6:30 to 9 o'clock on Saturday. And this relationship segment just blows people's mind. They're like, holy crap. But so she's like, all right, I can't, I'm calling into work tomorrow. No, she said, I have to go to work tomorrow. I was like, well, you don't have to go to work tomorrow. You don't have to pay your bills. You don't have to do nothing. You don't have to take your next breath. You choose to. So if you're going to work tomorrow, say, I choose to go to work tomorrow. And I had her say that. She's like, I choose to go to work tomorrow. And I'm like, awesome, great. So the next day she shows up, and I'm like, what are you doing? I thought you chose to go to work. And she's like, well, I chose, since I realized I was choosing my reality, I chose that this was more important. So, and it is like treat this like your life depends on it. Because in a way it does. If we do the wrong thing so long, the right thing feels wrong. We've got to learn like if you're not experiencing pure peace, love, and joy, if you're not experiencing abundance and health, wealth, happiness, relationship, spiritual connection, and those things are important to you, then make it a priority. Make yourself a priority, because most of the time we're just running around doing whatever the world asks of us, forgetting about ourselves, leaving ourselves out. So this is a great gift. Like I'm honored to be able to gift this. Laura's honored to be able to gift this, but it's even more important that you gift it to yourself. It's a gift. Just receive it unconditionally. It's free. Just register, receive it unconditionally, receive this full-on gift, and then just be there and gift yourself this weekend. At least gift yourself that first few hours, and you'll see, like, you'll feel like if you're how important it is to you. And my guess is you'll go there for the whole time.
Yeah, brilliant. And also to that point, it is free financially, but understand that it's not from the perspective of everything that went into making it happen. So show
Oh,
up, but don't treat it as free, because if you treat it as free, generally speaking, we don't value what we don't pay for. So understand that if you do choose to show up, you're trading your time, you're trading your life. Whatever else you're doing the same thing. It's just, what are you getting out of the choice that you make when you choose consciously that which you're going to do? So we need to wrap up tonight. So it's been an absolute pleasure. Jonathan, thank you for stepping up, for being a leader, for running the weekend, for being part of the Visionary program, for getting yourself into the room where we met 3 years ago, even though we didn't have a huge connection at that point. But through another friend that was in a different room that you were in a different room that I was in, that's how we reconnected, and that's how it happens.
yeah.
So it's all about the power of connection, connecting to ourselves, connecting with others who have keys to rooms we haven't thought to open the doors to yet.
Beautiful, Laura. Thank you so much as well, Laura. You're a lighthouse. Thank you for shining so brightly. Thank you for everyone who's listening to this. Thank you for everyone that's going to show up there. And we'll see you this weekend. And other than that, love you guys.
Awesome. Fantastic. Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Jonathan. All right. We'll see you. We'll talk soon.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Ciao.